When I first started learning piano, I was not a big fan because I struggled really early on. And I wanted to share with you guys today 5 things I know now that I wish I knew then that would have helped me a ton when I was starting out. All right, let's get into it. Number 1, make sure you have the right teacher. Now, this one might seem a little self-explanatory, but it's easy to fall into lessons with the wrong teacher or the wrong program. The one thing you want to look for when you're looking for a teacher is someone that lines up with what you're wanting to learn. I say that as in, there's a lot of different styles of piano. There's classical, there's jazz, there's pop, there's rock, improv, all that stuff. So I think the first thing you want to do is ask yourself, what style of piano are you wanting to learn? Or are you just trying to learn the generics of it? In which case, you can't really go wrong with a lot of teachers, but it's important to communicate with who you do pick for a teacher, so that way you're learning exactly what you want to learn and not wasting a whole lot of time. It would kind of suck if you wanted to go learn a Journey song, but you got stuck learning Beethoven and you just weren't really feeling it, and you opted out of piano because you didn't think it was the right thing for you. So definitely want to communicate your short-term and long-term goals to your piano teacher. Some piano teachers do offer their own curriculums where music schools will offer preset curriculums, so make sure you pick what's best for you. I think it's better to go more personal route with a piano teacher. That way you could sit down with them and tell them exactly what songs you want to learn, exactly what style you want to play, and exactly where your skill level is at, so they can create a course program for you specifically. So this leads me to number 2. Lessons are not the only way you can learn. Now, if you're new to my channel, I just recently talked about the difference between teaching yourself versus lessons and the pros and cons of each one. Now, the best thing you can do is find a balance of teaching yourself at home and then using lessons as a resource to help you with what you struggle with learning at home. I say this because lessons can be expensive, and if you're only learning 1 hour of information once a week, then you're not gonna get very far very fast. So, use lessons as a resource. You can find almost anything you want on YouTube in terms of songs, exercises, information, questions you have. So it's good to come home, and if there's a certain songs that you want to learn, go try and learn it on your own and come to the lesson and say, hey, I've been trying to learn so-and-so song. Can you help me with this song? So I think it's good to find a balance. That way your instructor can go ahead and start correcting your bad habits and answering any questions you might have along the way. Doing this can save you a lot of time and a lot of money, and you'll get results a lot faster. Number 3, don't let the sheet music scare you away. Okay, this isn't for everyone, but for me in particular, when I first started out learning lessons, I got really discouraged because the sheet music and the piano, learning both together was really hard for me. It felt like learning 2 languages at once, and I feel it would have helped me a lot if I were to have learned the piano as an instrument as a whole first, and then learned the sheet music so that it made a little bit more sense. Or vice versa. Maybe you take a step back and learn the sheet music first, learn how to read notes, and then transition it on to learning the piano. So one thing I want to say is no, you don't need to know how to read sheet music to play piano, or any instrument for that matter. I run into a lot of musicians all the time who don't know how to read sheet music, and a lot of very, very famous artists don't know how to read sheet music, and they're still great musicians. So don't let that scare you away. If reading sheet music is something that you think you need to know to play piano, you don't. Is it a great skill to have? Absolutely. So don't come at me for saying, sheet music isn't important. Of course, it's a good skill to have in the music industry. There's lots of jobs you can make, writing music, composing, stuff like that. Or if you want to play a song perfectly to its T, just by sight reading the sheet music in front of you, that is a great skill to learn. So I don't want to discourage anyone from learning sheet music, but I do want to say separate the sheet music from the piano. Learn your instrument first, learn how the piano works, learn some chords, learn some scales, and then it'll start making a lot more sense when you're reading the sheet music. You'll say, oh, C, D, E, okay, I can play that pretty easy. You know what I mean? So learn them both individually and then put them together, if that makes sense. What I don't want to happen to you is the sheet music and the piano to become an obstacle where you just can't get over and you end up giving up. Because I was at that point where it just wasn't making a lot of sense to me, and it got really annoying. I was like, do I have to know how to play sheet music to play all these songs I want to play? And the answer is no, you don't need to. If you understand the layout of a piano and you watch some YouTube videos on how people play it, you can learn any song you want for the most part. So number 3, don't let sheet music scare you away. All right, let's move on. All right, number 4, and this one's huge. Chords and scales are everything. Now, don't come at me and say, no, there's more to piano than chords and scales. I know there is, but chords and scales are huge because if you know the majority of the chords and you know the majority of the scales, you should, in theory, be able to play pretty much any song. Now, I say this because the way songs work, our songs are made up of chord progressions, and melody in those songs are usually used from the scales of what the root note is. If this doesn't make a lot of sense to you, it's okay. We can cover most of this in a different video. But what I want to mention is how important the chords and scales are in learning piano. Now, you don't need lessons and you don't need a whole lot of prior piano knowledge to start learning your chords and scales. You can find chord sheets online, and I can link one in the description below for you. But basically, chords are basically a series of notes that you play that make a pretty sound. And there's a whole bunch of chords to learn. So I wouldn't advise you to go just start learning every single chord. You might get a little overwhelmed. But what you can do is find a song you want to learn, type it in Google and say, what is the chord progression of so-and-so song? And then learn the chords that are in that song. That way you can play along to it. You can have someone sing it, or you can sing it yourself. And it just gets your brain working, and it makes songs a lot easier, and it also will help your ear training. So if you are later down the road trying to figure out how to play a song by ear, learning your chords, learning your chord progressions is going to help you figure those songs out. And scales are going to help you with the melody of those songs when you are trying to play piano by ear. So chords and scales, very big, very important. Definitely start learning them if you haven't started yet. All right, number 5, learn the songs you want to learn. Now, this sounds kind of self-explanatory, but I say this for a reason. Now, a lot of piano players when they start out, including me, if you guys start out in lessons, are going to be playing songs you don't really know. And for semi-good reason. Usually piano instructors are trying to introduce songs to whoever's learning in a simple manner, so they're going to give them simple songs. And a lot of these songs are kiddie songs, or they're not necessarily songs you've ever heard before or care to play. And while they may help you starting out, it's not always going to end great. A lot of people end up quitting piano because they're not learning songs they want to learn. Thus, they're not really able to show their friends and family. Thus, they don't get a whole lot of value out of playing the piano. So if you are wanting to learn the songs you want to learn and say you don't think you have the skill level, I invite you to give it a shot. I'll tell you a little story. When I started out playing piano, I was nowhere near good enough to where I thought I'd be able to play anything. And I was really inspired by one of my friends who played a song called Mad World by Garrett Jules on the piano. And it just hit me. And I was like, I wish I could play that. So I went home, I put on a YouTube video on how to play it, and I just sat there, and it took me I want to say it took me like a month to learn this song, and I learned it. And long story short, I was really motivated to learn that song because it was something I wanted to play. And then when I played it for people, I got such a great reaction. I got the reaction that I was reacting to when I saw my friend play it. So learn the songs you want to learn. Nothing's too hard. Obviously, don't just go start learning, the hardest song ever in the entire world. That will definitely not be good if you're just starting out. But a lot of these songs are a lot simpler than you guys think that they would be, and you don't need a whole lot of skill level to get started. I would say just a couple general courses on the piano layout, how the piano works, and then just try and learn these songs on your own. And as we go back to point number 1 and 2 is if you have the right instructor and you're using lessons as a resource, they'll be able to help you get to those goals. So don't waste your time learning a whole bunch of silly, lame songs. You're going to get discouraged. It's not going to be very fun. If you're not learning the songs that you want to learn, then you probably don't have the right instructor, and you're probably not learning piano correctly because it's just not going to be fun for you. So learn the songs you want to learn. Point number 5. All right, guys. Well, if you learned anything today and this helped you out, I'd really appreciate it if you guys would like and subscribe to my channel. It's just going to help me grow, and comment some ideas you'd like to see for future videos. If you are just starting out and you're looking for a way to start learning piano and you want everything all in once without having to pay for lessons every single week, I do have a course that I have. I'll link it below, called Hear and Play Piano. I'll teach you guys how to play piano by ear all the way from square zero. So if you've never seen a piano before, you can still take the course. Other than that, like and subscribe. And again, my name is Danny. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.